This is McCook's Mr. Bill. It's an honor to have you here. Well, anniversary, 43rd year we've been married. It's been a true blessing to be married to a loyal woman. And it didn't hurt that she can cook. Absolutely a great cook. But you're here for a story, so let's talk about cops. I said we're going to talk about cops. Then and now. I was Santa Claus for the city of McCook for 22 years, and a number of those years at the museum. Well, they had an elderly man unlock and lock the museum up when I would come and go from that place. I got to visiting with him, and his father had become a cop here in McCook in the early 1900s through the 1920s. And his father told him that here in McCook, when a husband would beat on his wife, the cops would come, check it out, make sure that's what was going on. And then they'd take that guy and handcuff him and take him out in the country. And they'd beat him within an inch of his life. So, a serious beating, I'm here to tell you, right into the ground. And then they'd make it clear that if he told anybody that they would, attack him and beat him up, that they'd say he attacked them first, and he'd be looking at a year in prison for attacking a police officer. And so he then said that they would then finish with a threat. If we have to bring you out here a second time, we're going to castrate you. And we never did have to take anybody out a second time. When I was a kid, back in the late 1950s, my mother was doing some welfare secretarial work for up there at Imperial to kind of help Dad as he was sharecropper, not much money there. And so once in a while I'd go with her and go just to the public pool, swim for the day, and then come back at the end of the day before she left. And I'd usually end up in the cop shop because he was always a friendly cop. A perfect example of a cop, a big-bellied, fat cop, jovial old boy he was. And so I asked him, though, one day, I said, "You ain't got a gun. I know our local town cop over there at Hamlet didn't pack a gun. But you don't have a gun. You'd think a county sheriff might have one." And he said, "You can't be anybody's friend if you're packing a gun publicly that they can see. It's kind of like a dog. If he's dark colored, the sheep are afraid of him. They think it's a wolf, or they're afraid of him for whatever reason. Public's the same way. If you're packing a gun, they just are uneasy around you. So it's a lot easier not to have them see the gun." And he pulled up his shirt and pulled out a little .22 Magnum Derringer. No hammer on it. It was a double action .22 Magnum Derringer. And he said, "I can shoot accurate out to about 50 feet with it." And he said, "I don't have to worry about any further than that." And he said, "If there's any kind of trouble, though," he said, "I'm going to grab my shotgun." And he said, "That shotgun, that solves the problem most of the time real quick. Because a person, when he sees a shotgun pointing at him, he knows you ain't going to miss. And it's not only going to kill him, it'll blow him off his feet, so you never need a second shot with a shotgun." And so there are very few that would ever attempt to fight one of those. And that's how he went. You bet. I always had massive amounts of respect for that law officer. 43 years, worked part-time out here at a ranch, and it runs right up to the Kansas-Nebraska border. In fact, there's a road running east and west, and on the north side is Nebraska, south side's Kansas. I was over there checking salt blocks one day, and the old county sheriff was out there along the road. And so I drove over by to see what the problem was, because he was out walking around, and he was looking in coverts, metal coverts, keep the flood, if a flood had come through, it wouldn't wash out the road, theoretically. And it was a county sheriff from Kansas, but he was up there into Nebraska ways. And I said, "Is there a problem?" And he said, "Well, they had a robbery down there in Kansas." And he said, "Sometimes the thieves will throw and hide their stuff in coverts and come back and get it later." So he said, "We look all around the different coverts." And he said, "We bend the rules. And we come up into Nebraska and look around a little bit too." He said, "You didn't see me." And I said, "That's fine. I agree. I never saw you." And we got to visit a little bit more, though, and I said, at the time, "You got a crazy new law in Kansas. You can't kill a rattlesnake without a hunting license." I said, "That's insane." He said, "I agree fully." And he said, "Though in my county, he said, you'll never be arrested for it. I'll guarantee you, I will never have you arrested for killing a rattlesnake. He said, there's more rattlesnakes out here than there are people. And he said, a snake bite can be $50,000 real easy. And he said, not counting, he said, it endangers livestock, pets, children, anybody. He said, we're just not going to put up with that kind of danger. And he said, I don't care what kind of fool laws they pass at the state capitol. He said, that don't mean I'm going to enforce them. He said, when they pass a fool law, he said, only fools obey them. I liked that old cop, I did. He had a pound of common sense. I wish more of them did. I wish more of them did. You have a safe 4th of July.